Tuesday morning. I'll call the Planning, Environment, and Development Committee meeting to order, January 7th meeting. We'll have a roll call. Everyone is here in person except Dina Krieger, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Jim what?
Move to allow her in.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kearns to allow Dina to attend remotely. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Carl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hello, Dina.
Hi.
Hi, I can hear you fine.
Okay, very good.
I have a bad habit of when somebody's not in the room to forget them, to ask them to vote. So just holler if I miss you, okay?
Okay, will do. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 1st meeting? Moved by Mr. Godemuller, seconded by Jim. All those in favor to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, move on to public comment. Jim, can you see if there's anybody on the public comment for me, please?
No one there.
Nothing?
No.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Members' comments? Does any members have a comment this morning? Oh, come on, guys, Happy New Year or something, huh?
Happy New Year.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll move right on to new business. And 5.1 would be the interviews for the Historic Preservation Commission. And Sarah Taylor here. Sarah's here, great. If you'd like to have a seat up front, if that's okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Jim. So, Sarah, if you would, when you're ready there, I'm having a little computer problem, so I'm going to be playing with this one at the same
I thought it
time.
came up, yeah.
Did yours come up?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll try again then. So if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on this commission, and if you have been on it. My computer's down, so I don't have your application in front of me.
Want to do zoning board?
My name is Sarah Taylor.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I work for the Crystal Lake Park District, and I am the supervisor of our historic national landmark. So history has always been my passion. I've been teaching for over 25 years in multiple different settings, and I just believe that history is part of our identity, and just really want to put that out there in the community and stand behind everything everyone does in this room. So.
Okay. So you're going to interview for the ZBA too. Let's separate the question part though, so because there might be some different questions for the historic preservation part of it compared to being on the zoning board. So anybody have any questions for Sarah regarding the Historic Preservation Commission?
Not really a question.
Okay.
But I have met her one time. I'm sure she doesn't remember it. But back in November, maybe it was October, my wife and I took a tour of the facility in Crystal Lake, and she was the tour leader. So anyway, did a great job, by the way.
It's a wonderful place.
Yeah, nice. So, go ahead, Jim.
So are you involved with that preservation, the barn preservation that they're attempting over there?
I hear a lot about it, so I'm not currently involved in that at the time, but just we have a unique partnership with between the Park District, the city, and the Historical Society, so I know that there's lots of talk about it, along with some other buildings that are actually currently being protected as well, and that would be the Academy, so that's another one. The Episcopal St. Mary's Church, so I would love to move the barn over to the Palmer House if we can. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking.
Okay, does anyone else have anything? I guess there's always the question about with the historic preservation stuff is like the private ownership and their rights opposed to the preservation of some of the properties. You have a feeling about that, or how would you handle that if it comes to a controversy in front of you at some point?
I think it would just be important to look at all the variables and everyone that's involved, and make sure everyone's on the same page. But importantly, the structure itself, and what stands behind it, architecturally where it stands within our community, not only as from a city perspective but a county perspective. And just working together to collaborate and make decisions on what needs to be done.
Yeah, good. Okay, anyone else have anything on the Historic Preservation Commission end of it? Not seeing anything else. If you have anything different you would like to talk about as far as why you'd want to be on the ZBA, would you please, let us know right now?
From the historic standpoint, I have a big interest in architecture, and a lot of my research data, I have quite a bit of extensive research data outside of the education, and really going back to where some of these structures that we see today, where their architecture originates from too, and the antiquities behind them, I believe is important to consider with decisions as well, because some of that you will never find, or they would be difficult to find, and just raising that importance too.
Okay. Anybody have anything for her regarding the Zoning Board of Appeals thing? And for me, I guess I went through your application, and I sort of get in being the Historic Preservation Commission and all coming from that angle on the ZBA stuff too. But then there's the balance of that against zoning ordinances and requirements. So how would you balance that, I guess?
That would be a collaborative effort too.
Same thing, yeah.
Same thing, working together to, meet needs of the community, but as well as, understanding the importance of preserving as it works for everyone in the community. The other thing too, with certain park district projects, I will say in all honesty, depending on what it is, that might, impact, my appearance on some of the stuff as it relates to park district zoning. But definitely will be a good ear and eyes and strong communication and collaborative efforts to work with everyone to make sure we get what needs to be done.
Yeah, that sounds good. You have something, Carolyn?
Yeah, I mean, just on how much have you had much of an opportunity to look at the zoning ordinances and because the ZBA operates very specifically on what is allowed through our, our zoning ordinances, our unified development ordinances.
Yeah, so I have looked through some of it, so there's a lot out there, and just making sure that different counties and different areas have different rules, and definitely something I need to grow more into, in all honesty, but those rules are definitely applicable and top priority.
Okay, because it seems like you said you've done a lot of research on historical architecture and that sort of thing. Is that stuff you've done on your own?
Yes, and as part of the park district as well.
Okay.
So, Historical Society and Park District.
And how willing would you be to maybe attend? This is for an alternate position, which is actually a good opportunity to learn about it, without being thrown into the fire, if you will. How willing would you be to maybe just either go or attend when you're not serving as the alternate, just to learn the process and tune into the meetings and that sort of thing? I know it could be time consuming, but that's a great opportunity to get up to speed. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's crucial. So.
Mr. Gattemeyer?
I would just point out there's a difference between the city's authority and the county's authority. What's come up here in the last year for us is solar farms. We actually don't have the authority to say no. And so they come through, and they're going to land on your desk someday, and somebody's going to want to put a solar farm up. But you can't really have your hands tied behind your back by the state legislature. And so you need to be prepared for that. And the state's attorney's office, I'm sure, will give you some guidance as to what you can and can't do. But agriculture is another example of it. If it's zoned ag, we actually can't tell a farmer what to farm. We don't, if it's within that territory, we can't control farming. So, I mean, it does come up every so often. This way, so, well, I don't want him or her to do that there. Well, you may not, but they own it and it's owned for that, so they get to. So, anyway.
Earl, did you have something? Or?
Have you had an opportunity to attend any of the ZBA meetings and meet the game players that are there?
I have not.
Okay.
Yet to do that, so.
Okay, anyone else have anything else for Sarah? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time. We're going to discuss this a little bit later this morning, and we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see Chris Dahm in the room. We might be a little
Still
early.
10 minutes early, so.
Yeah.
After we stood him up for 2 times, maybe.
You didn't take it seriously.
No? Okay.
We got Jake.
Jake Summerfeld in the room. Okay.
Could we do the Historic Preservation and Zoning Board?
Yeah, we're going to move on to 5.5 right now.
I would move to approve Sarah Taylor.
We have a motion to approve Sarah Taylor for the Historic Preservation Commission. Do we have a second? Carolyn seconds. Any further discussion regarding that matter?
You say, I heard one of her speeches when we went through the Palmer House, and she's extremely qualified to do this type of work.
Good to hear. I've never had the opportunity to meet her before, so. Okay, anyone else?
I will say, I know when I heard her speak, I did not know she was applying. She hadn't applied yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just happened to cross paths with her.
No, that's great to hear that she has the enthusiasm for it. Dina, do you have any comments regarding Sarah Taylor's interview?
I was just wondering, if we did not choose her, does it sit vacant?
It would set vacant, and we would advertise it, put it out there for more applicants. Is that correct, Adam? And then probably in a month or two, we would, if we had more applicants, we'd interview again.
Okay.
And that would be the same for all of these positions. Right now, in this particular case, because we only have 1 applicant per need on these committees, so there are oftentimes when we have 2, 3, even 6 applicants. This just isn't one of the cases.
Noted.
Okay, no other comments? We'll go to vote. Carolyn?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes?
Jim?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dina?
Yeah.
And I'll vote yes. So Sarah Taylor will be recommended to the county board chairman for that position. And without seeing the other interviewees here, we'll move on to 5.6. And that would be deliberation and selection for the zoning board of appeals. Go ahead, Jim.
Move to approve her for the zoning board of appeals.
Sarah Taylor.
Sarah?
Okay, and seconded by Carl. Is there any further discussion there?
I would just say that this is a position that's actually been open for a while, and it's the backup players, and it's a good chance for her to learn that aspect of the role.
Okay,
She's
yeah.
not likely to be going to every meeting at the beginning, but you get a chance to find out if this is a good fit for you.
Right, I was a little concerned maybe about her lack in zoning experiences, but she seems to have a different perspective that could bring something to the table, so I'm comfortable with it. I don't know what anybody else thinks. Anybody else? Dina, you have any comments on Sarah Taylor's interview for the zoning board of appeals?
No.
Okay, thank you.
So I agree. I think that this gives her an opportunity to learn what it's all about. I think I'd be less comfortable if it was a full-time person, but because of the lack of zoning. But I also think that she seems like she'd be somebody who put the time into learning the process.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I feel comfortable with this one.
Anyone else have any comments regarding that, or we'll go to vote? Okay, we'll go to vote then. Jim?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes,
Paul,
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, and I'll vote yes, so she'll be moved along to the county board chairman for recommendation for the zoning board of appeals. So what else you got? We don't have our interviewees here, let's see. Chris is supposed to be here in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Nope, okay. No Jake either, huh? Adam, how long do you think the 2050 plan thing will be? Take
Real quick.
10 minutes?
Yeah, I would say even less.
Okay,
I'd say less.
let's move to 7-1 then, if that's okay with the committee. The 2050 plan, just give a little background for the new people, especially where we're at, why it's here.
Yeah, and that's really it. So I mean, for many of you, it's going to be old news. But we're at kind of that 95% mark in terms of the 2050 comprehensive plan. So it's a 2-year plan that looks at several different aspects of planning within the county, from housing, agricultural, land preservation, water conservation, water resources, every economic development. It's intended to truly be comprehensive and kind of touch all aspects of development and then set forth these concepts that would be carried forward with policies. I think that would be the shortest synopsis I think that I can come up with. If there's something I missed, for those, Carolyn, you were on the commission with us as the county board liaison.
But the only thing I would say is why we have to have it.
Why we have to have it. So several aspects, but it really sets the ground for our zoning ordinance. And in order for us to have a zoning ordinance, we have to regulate zoning and regulate planning. We have to have a comprehensive plan to really gauge what people are proposing against. And so if you have that organized, comprehensive plan, the petitions, the requests now can be looked at as whether or not it's appropriate or inappropriate, and then give the county board the ability then to vote it up or vote it down based on the comprehensive plan or some of the other factors that would go into that specific petition type. So, and where we're at with it, we had a consultant that really kind of oversee and assembled this plan with the guidance of the Regional Planning Commission. And the Regional Planning Commission brought it to the point where it's ready for county board, pretty much. There's a little bit of an installment and kind of a course through that we have to go through with some public comment to ensure that it's coordinated, essentially. And so we have to get that red line version back to the consultant and polished up for the county board to look at, so that, you know, as we talked about, so that there's no distractions. You know, looking at something that may be either a typo or a glitch in the system, and hey, now it's detracting from what you guys are asked to do, which is to dictate policy. So realistically, I think we're probably the most aggressive schedule would probably be April, but you're looking at it probably comfortably and logically, I think probably in that May or June mark would be the time that it would come forward for serious discussion.
And the committee makeup, and is there else, the committee makeup is, I think, would be sort of interesting to the new people especially, and isn't there something about we have to have a 2050 plan for the federal grants of some sort?
Yeah, it's in order to be eligible for federal funding in a couple different buckets. That plan is leveraged, and it's leveraged whether it's federal or even state grants and local opportunities. So it's utilized in several different ways. So having it comprehensive and having really everything that you can possibly put in there represented to some degree or another, whether it's pro or anti or whatever it might be, addressing it is really the goal of the comprehensive plan, and then see what opportunities arise in the future. It is a living document. I mean, it won't have necessarily the Regional Planning Commission coursing through it, but it's something where if we'll revisit it. Now, our current plan that we're operating under is actually a 2030 plan. And then it was revised the 2030 and beyond to kind of cover this after, I think it was 10 years or 5 years, or I kind of forget what that period of time was when the 2030 plan was adopted. And within that adoption, it was scheduled to have a revisit to really check in. The other thing that it does is, and kind of to give the county board a sense, or to keep your finger on the pulse, is it schedules the annual report to give the county board an idea of what development patterns, trends, how much is changing with the petitions that come through. So that's what I'm doing later today for you all, but to kind of give you an idea of what that plan really steers.
And it's the board members of that commission are community leaders, some ZBA guys, an attorney. It's not just county board people, that's what it's.
Correct. Yeah, there's several liaisons, to various aspects. We had health, myself with planning, transportation, Scott Hennings, county board liaison. Then we had, several different aspects and members of the community, whether it was restaurateur, going through the list, a couple of retirees on the I think lawyers and real estate.
Is there,
Trying to remember the players, my goodness.
Yeah, and they are the voting members. The
They were the
liaisons are not the voting members, it's just the community members that are appointed by this committee.
okay, and then, go Joe.
If I may, the other way it gets used, that I know Adam knows, whatever, but if I'm a petitioner, one of the first things I'm going to do is figure out how my petition fits into that comp plan. And so you have to be a little careful when you write it, that you make some decisions, because otherwise you're going to find out that everything meets the comp plan. And that's probably not what you started out intending to do. You actually wanted to make some decisions as a way to guide how this county is going to go forward in the next. I mean, I don't believe for a second, and I argued that it ought to be a 2040 plan instead of 50, because I don't believe we're capable of deciding what's going to happen 25 years from now. If you look back over the last 25 years, it's changed pretty dramatically, and you can look at any 25-year time period. It's changed too much, but you still need. If you don't have that basis, you actually don't have the right to do zoning at all. So, and if you want examples of that, there are plenty of them downstate that don't have any zoning regulations. You can put up anything you want wherever you want to. It's like it was in 1920. And I just don't think, I think we have enough population that we don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, so, and that's coming from our zoning attorney that's sitting at the table.
So to piggyback on that point, every county board meeting will have a few petitions, and within our staff report, it'll talk about how it relates to the 2030 plan, the current plan, 2030 beyond, with that staff assessment.
Yeah,
Thanks, Joe.
Policy, vision for the future. Is the draft up on the website?
It is not. It is not yet.
And members wanted the draft so they could peruse it in case they had some questions or concerns. They can get a copy emailed to them.
Yeah, we can get a copy. Is it on the website actually? Maybe I should have looked at it. Okay, yeah. I thought after the last meeting we took it
We're
down.
going to be going into these discussions. Some of it's going to come up here, some of it's probably going to come up at the cow in April or whenever. So if you get a copy emailed to you, then you guys can, page through it. Maybe you'll see something that sort of sticks out that you want to bring up and say, hey, why is that there, or whatever.
I think, were you trying to wait until some of the redlining was done? Is that why it hasn't, I think that was part of the reason why it hasn't gone on to the committee.
Yeah, the copy that we would have is the last draft that we had previously discussed.
Right, in August, yeah. So there's still some stuff that would need to be cleaned up to not be that kind of distracting, so maybe.
Well, that's why it's not up on the web, but we've seen the draft, so I thought they should see the draft. And get everybody on the same playing field page, whatever you want to call it now. So. Okay. Thank you, Adam, for that.
Well,
There's nothing else, right? Anybody got any questions for Adam?
Adam, when you guys are doing this plan, do you show what McHenry County looks like now? And what it will, like percentage-wise, farm, resident?
Yeah, there's,
Like a pie graph of some
there's a
sort.
lot of existing conditions analysis. That was like phase one, that we looked at everything from, you know, where people work, housing stock, how much existing ag land, what the trends have been over the last 20 years so we can compare those data sets from when we did the 2030 plan and then move that forward to what we have right now. And then that kind of starts to render what that may look like going forward. Now, 25 years out, and we had they were rich discussions. Smart. The consultant brought about 3 or 4 different scenarios, you know, an aggressive growth plan, a moderate, and then, you know, a couple different growth plans like that. So, you know, the primary centerpiece for all of those growth plans was being contiguous with the municipalities. So, you know, just a center concept for that.
It's more in a map form rather than a pie chart, I think. I don't
Yes.
remember any pie charts, but like what the map is in now with the different land uses and then projecting. I think that's so it gives you a visual.
It's a heavy lifting piece. You're not going to read it in one sentence.
It is about yay stuff.
But everybody has their own specialties, I guess. So there'd be parts that you might be more interested in or whatever, and other parts that.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just not saying don't think you're going to do it in 45 minutes. You're
Yeah.
not.
A little late reading.
It's interesting. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
In the last one, did they address because one of the original discussions I was in, they didn't address, they had the loss of agriculture property to development, but they did not include solar farms in that.
I don't remember.
Did they change that? Did they update that?
I don't
To
think they
include
had
that
that
acreage
specific.
for
No, I
solar
don't
farms?
think they talked about that specific.
Do you recall, Renee?
No, it's not in
Not in there, okay.
Because our 2050 plan is basically out the window with that.
Yeah.
So getting that incorporated.
Okay. I don't see that. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
We're got that covered. Appreciate that. Scott's gonna check to see if we have an interviewee out in the hallway waiting on us, but I suspect that we're gonna move forward. Don't know, but in fairness to the interviewees, we had moved them a couple times down the line because we didn't have a meeting last time and stuff like that, so.
Do you want me to call them?
If they want to go online, we could do that.
Yeah, I guess, well, you could try it, I guess.
Okay. Don't make any decisions while I'm gone.
Hey.
We wouldn't think of it.
Make her listen to the tape.
Well, what time is it, so we know? 9 o'clock, so that's 9 o'clock.
Quick vote.
Quick vote.
It's done.
Cold coffee.
We gotta pick on Chris when he gets here. Anyways, did you read Chris's application? Chris Dahm?
Yeah.
Did you see who his his supervisor?
I did, but now I'm
Oh.
not remembering.
Put down Helen, that's his wife.
Did you? No, wait a minute, Chris. Oh, you're right. Oh, shoot.
My wife grew up down the street from that family.
I miss it.
I'm sure I saw it, but I didn't.
I didn't.
put two together.
Yeah, no, I didn't, not at all.
Just got a chuckle out of it when I seen that. So in my household. Dan, you want my computer? It's not doing me any good.
You're still not doing it?
I can download the agenda in a heartbeat, but I cannot download the, I'm just the short agenda. I can't download the meeting agenda thing here.
Oh, I
Doing the same thing. I shut it off and turned it back on.
All right.
So you
Try any of the,
well, we do the ZBA
we
reports.
can do this ZBA hearing report.
Yeah,
Do
we
the
will in a
ZBA?
second, if Kathy doesn't come right back in.
Oh, I'm hearing something.
She's talking to somebody. I don't know how that's gonna work.
Oh, she's on the phone.
But if they want to call in, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
Yeah, I just don't
people
come
here that have never been on these positions before.
I just sent Chris a Teams link, he's gonna jump on.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Go ahead and take care of that. Do you need to take care of that, Dan, to
No,
get?
he's not in those lobbies yet, so once I see that,
Yeah, that pops,
PDF works.
yeah, that pops up in a heartbeat.
I feel like he describes having some kind of issue, but, which doesn't make sense because I'm running the meeting now and recording it, so he describes working. So this particular agenda is
Yes, Larry.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is.
We'll see Chris's name up there when he gets in.
yeah.
So, Chris has been on the drainage district, the Hebron Drainage District, probably for the last 15 years or so. Member of the Fair Board, Farm Bureau, all around pretty good guy, a good guy.
He's president of NCCD.
He's a member of
Yeah,
a
just
Yeah, yeah, he's a good guy.
He's on.
There you go.
Hi, Chris. This is Larry Smith.
Hi, I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I know we had delayed you a couple months on this, getting to it, so I appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Great, great. Well, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to do this too, so.
You know, Chris,
Anyways,
if you just would want, introduce yourself. We have a couple new members on PED here, so if you want to introduce yourself, explain a little bit about the drainage district, how many members, how long you've been on it, that kind of thing.
yes, so my name is Christopher Dahm, and I've lived in McHenry County my whole life, Woodstock area, and where I live now on Miller Road. I've been here for 45 years. Joined the drainage district, I believe it's been one term, so probably 3 years ago, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm really active in wanting the drainage districts to go because I feel that they're grassroots organizations where they can help the ag industry basically and other industries continue to have productive lands where it could be flooded, things like that. So I'm sort of off guard a little bit, so I apologize.
Sure, yeah, no problem at all, Chris. It just we're glad to get a chance to talk to you. I did have a little question about your supervisor. I read your application, and your supervisor was a little questionable there. Ellen was her name, I believe.
That would be, yeah, my wife, yes.
When I read that, I got a chuckle because I'm thinking, yeah, that's about how it works at my house.
Yes, exactly. But as many of you might know, I am serving on the Conservation District Board also right now. And my term will be up here this spring in May. So I'll be done with that. I'm currently serving as president on that organization board.
And you're on the Farm Bureau and the Fair Board too, or?
I'm not on those boards at this point. I'm a member of each of those organizations, as well as several other active in the church and things like that.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions for Chris?
I'm just happy he wants to do it.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, Chris, we're happy.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to find volunteers.
It is, yeah, and I know that job don't pay real well. So, and you're a busy man, so we appreciate you taking the time to interview with us this morning. We will not, nobody else has any questions, we're not gonna hold you up and we'll let you get back to work. Is there anyone
Okay,
else?
well,
Have anything
I
for-
apologize and glad this worked out this way, so thank you.
Yep, no problem, Chris. Thank you for joining us, and we'll let you get back to work then.
Okay, take care.
Bye now.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, Jake Summerfield is,
I left him a
Summerfeld?
voicemail.
Okay.
Pardon?
I left him a voicemail.
Okay, great, thanks Kathy. We'll see how that goes, but we will move on to 5-7, and that's the selection for the Hebron Drainage District to be recommended to the County Board Chairman. We have a motion by Carolyn, seconded by Jim. Is there any further discussion regarding Ms. Dahm for that position? Dina, did you, you're with us, you heard the?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. Do you have any question regarding that position or the interview?
No, he sounds well prepared.
Yeah, he's well suited for that job, that's for sure, in my opinion.
Yes.
So, okay, we'll go to vote. Joe?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes also. So that will be sent to the County Board Chairman as our recommendation. We do not have Jake Summerfeld. Kathy left him a message, so we'll move on to,
7-2.
yeah. Is Patty here? Yep, there you are. Okay.
No.
So this is something we've been putting off for a while too, I guess. And now that spring is coming around, it's a good time to address it.
Yeah.
Should I go back, Mr. Smith, and summarize from last time where we left off, or?
Yeah, we'll get one for you.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, is there a way that Dina could be emailed this real quick so she could see it as well?
Oh, yeah, I think Kathy will take care of that. Dina, we're gonna talk about the pool regulations in McHenry County. It's 7.2 on our agenda. McHenry County has some pool barrier requirements that aren't the same as the municipalities. And Kathy from our staff here is gonna email you a copy of the graph that Patty Dahm from the Health Department has put together, talking about the different, outlining, I guess would be a better way to say it, different compliant pool barriers in different communities, et cetera. So you should have that in a minute. Patty,
Thank you.
Yep, Patty, do you want to get started?
Sure. So we talked about this a few months ago when it's come to our attention that the municipal ordinances in terms of pool barriers have progressed beyond what the Health Department's ordinance, which was established back in 1991. And they were established at that time in response to a drowning of a small child. And so the problem that has arisen is that these municipalities who have adopted the International Building Code do allow for the pool covers in lieu of the pool barriers. The health ordinance does not. So when we met last time, I was asked to get a little bit more information. One was we wanted to survey the municipalities to see which ones were consistent with our requirements and which ones have other requirements in place currently. That's what that list is for you. The red doesn't mean anything. It means Patty, go back and try to contact them again. But what you can see is that 11 of the municipalities in the county, as far as we can determine, follow the International Building Code, which does specifically allow for a pool cover meeting certain requirements to be used in lieu of a pool barrier. So at this point in time, the health department's involvement with the pool barriers would be to respond to concerns if there isn't a pool barrier in place. Actually, ironically, just this past month, we received complaints in the village of Marengo that someone asked us to follow up on. So we do periodically get them within incorporated areas, but that's not very common. And then we do handle the variances and the exemptions that are allowed under the county's pool barrier requirements. So those are either within 15% of the specifications, meeting certain setback distances, the 200 to 500 feet, or a 500 feet or more setback to the nearest residence. Now, those are all for pools that were existing prior to the implementation date of the pool barrier ordinance in 1991. So all new ones have to meet the standards in place. So that's been a continually cycling down number. We started with probably close to 300 of those types of files. We're currently down to 65 variances and 67 exemptions. That's throughout the whole county. And 17 of those are ones that are located within municipal boundaries. So what I'm looking for is direction as to how to proceed with this. So, you know, I think the options are either I start reaching out to those municipalities to identify pools that may not be compliant, or if we want to defer those responsibilities strictly to the municipalities with their own municipal limits, then I would need to make an ordinance change, or bring back, you know, a proposal for an ordinance change to you to look at the pool barriers strictly within the unincorporated limits. So I guess that's the direction I'm kind of looking at, yes.
So clarification on that. So could the ordinance be that if a municipality has their own ordinances? Like if I'm seeing an either or, yes. Whereas there's this middle ground of people of incorporated areas that have not gone with the international standard, that are in compliance with our yes. code. So could the ordinance be written, if we go that direction, could the ordinance be written in such a way that it applies to those municipalities that choose to use the international building standards?
Sure, it could
so
be.
So that you're almost tiered, as in other words.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be written
anyway.
Yeah, in any way, you know, that you would like. I would just tell you one thing that's true about the ordinances is they are building ordinances, right? So it's to get a permit to build a pool and the barrier goes in place. I could not find in any of the ordinances, because I don't argue at all that, you know, if the cover's in place, that it's an adequate barrier. There's nothing in any of the ordinances that I could determine where there would be, if it's not being put back in place when someone's not using the pool or anything, that there's any follow-up for that. Right? So, you know, it's not really the construction portion, it's that, you know, if it's not really utilized correctly. I'm not sure that's the level we want to go to, but that's what we currently have in the ordinance now.
Yeah.
Or it's not attached entirely.
Sure, there's all kinds of variables, that's right.
So just to be clear, we do have the authority to go to the municipality and tell them this is what they need to do, or one of their citizens that has a pool, we can go and enforce the way it's written right now.
That's correct.
Carl, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm kind of in favor, leave the municipalities alone and we just deal with the county.
Okay.
Have you had any, you mentioned Marengo, you had a couple places in Marengo. Have you had any other places, you know, like your top one is Village of Algonquin. Has anybody ever called and said, we want to see a fence in place of the pool?
You know, I would tell you, I can't think of one, but if they had, what we would have done is first contact that municipality and say, okay, hey, we have this complaint. And so our process always was, if they had something in place and they were going to follow up, then they would do it anyway. So it's not like I have a long list of municipal, you know, properties where there were complaints, right? Mm-hmm.
So if it is a pool cover situation and the cover's not being put back on, and that's the ordinance in that village or whatever, can you get a ticket? Or, I mean,
that's what I couldn't ascertain. I couldn't determine that.
Yeah, it's real gray area for me in understanding the enforcement part of it. And if they got the fence, you got the fence. It's there. You don't have to worry about it getting put back up. But go ahead, Jim.
Well, and some of the homeowners associations don't allow fences. So, I mean, the pool barrier thing.
There'd have to be an exception for that, I would think.
I'm sorry, putting it in there would be shutting it down?
No, it should be.
Oh, it
should be.
Oh.
I mean, what liability does it leave upon us if we go with this, like this?
But when they...
To all the municipalities, even if they don't have an ordinance.
Well, the only ones that I couldn't determine whether they did or did not, or what it was Greenwood and Union. And certainly I could get that information. It's actually kind of just hard to get a hold of someone sometimes, and I couldn't find anything online. So I could get that information, for you.
But I guess my question is a lot of these say no. They're yes or no. They either have it addressed in their ordinance.
Right, the ones that say no would mean that they do not allow the pool barriers, covers in lieu of the barriers. So then they are consistent with our ordinance. The ones that are yes are ones that would allow you to build a pool and put on a pool cover instead of that, the barrier with the self-closing gates, et cetera.
Do you have a preference?
I have to be honest and tell you from a public health perspective, if you asked me, I'd say I'd love to see the gate, then the alarm, and then, because it's all about layers of protection. So, like I said, I don't argue that the pool cover is adequate. My concern is what is the follow-up, if it's not being utilized. And so, another option is that we put something in our ordinance that allows us to, if we got a complaint that someone's not putting a pool barrier cover on, that we could go in and do some type of enforcement if the municipality is not. But then we're really kind of in a position of following up on, their regulation within their own municipality. So to answer your question, I have mixed feelings about it.
So and maybe that was sort of my next question is enforcement. That would be a tough enforcement because they could say, well, we went in for lunch, we're coming right back or whatever.
It would be, yeah, it would be. And we have other things that are similar. Part of it's just the education process. And, if it's really like that, it tends to be repetitive and it, comes out in the wash type of thing.
Yeah. It's a tough call. There's a financial burden for some of the people.
Can I ask
Sure,
a
go
question?
ahead.
So you asked a question about the barriers and the complaints, and I think and toward the end I wasn't following it anymore. And so your question was, how many complaints do you get? So how would is this a complaint within these communities that currently have their own? Is that what your question was?
How do we get calls from the village of Algonquin residents saying they don't have a pool barrier up?
Not commonly.
Okay, all right.
Not commonly. But we do get complaints of barriers that were in place at one time, now they've deteriorated, or the fence is falling down, or things like that, or the gate's not. We do get those periodically. I mean, we're not getting 100 a year, but it would be more typical, I think, to get a complaint like that than just that there's one.
The gate's got a hole in it.
Yeah, that type of thing.
So how long has this been going on as it is right now? With the municipalities having some of these things and not, and we have our thing, has that been going on for?
Well, I would say it's been going on for a while because as close as, Adam might have to help me with this, I mean, I went back and I could tell that it was in the 2015 International Building Code. I know that. I don't know how much before that it would be.
Okay, so this is just round numbers, 10 years probably, and
it's been progressing in that direction, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Is it a problem that needs to be addressed, or do you just feel it does, so you know where you stand on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'd be inclined to tell municipalities that adopted the other thing that they're on their own. We stay out. I don't want to see us necessarily picking a fight with the city of Crystal Lake. If they're happy with the barrier, the non-barrier, they usually control their towns better than we're going to control inside of town.
Enforcement issues.
But I don't, I mean, but I hope it's the biggest problem we address this year.
Well, and I guess Carl's sort of felt the same way on that. Anyone else want to weigh in on it? We always get certainly everything you said, the barrier, the alarm, the gate is all great stuff. Financial burden, that can be an issue too, and then a deterioration, and where does our enforcement, and do we want to be telling municipalities what to do or not? That's all those questions that Those are the questions you have, we're not giving an answer to, are we?
No, well, I appreciate it, though. The other thing, I mean, obviously that we could do is we could do some education for that. We can encourage municipalities to put, that have adopted this, to put some type of additional ordinance requirement in so that they have the ability to monitor if it's being done properly. We could do some educational type things, or, try to provide information, if we went the way that, municipalities do their own.
Why not just do it for the people and not be a nanny state and let the municipalities alone? If they get wind that the county, we're thinking of doing that, now they start making more laws in their own villages restricting the people's freedom. When are we gonna get to a point of we can't fix stupid and leaving people to have their own personal responsibility?
Well, I fully understand what you're saying. I guess from my standpoint, that when our objective is to, prevent the drownings of, children typically under the age of 6, it's never an intentional thing. It's just a tragedy. And so I hear what you're saying. It's just that, that's what we're, trying to address.
I've been here long enough. I remember when this went in 91. It was not, there was a lot of screaming and yelling about whether or not we were going to regulate swimming pools. On the other hand, I do think that I would rather work on it on this end and make certain we don't have another drowning than take all of the regulations off and then find out that, we just cost some kid his life. I mean, if education does it, that's fine with me. I don't really want us to go to war with municipalities, but, I've only got, 9 municipalities that have actually done this.
I think it's about a third.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, that's about a third.
I think it's about a third. I thought it was around 10, but sure.
And some of them might not want to do it because there's going to be a lot more violations with putting a barrier, putting a cover on a pool, because people just aren't going to put a cover on a pool, and some neighbor kid goes and jumps in and drowns. I mean, it's pretty tough without the fences, but I don't want to regulate it, like what you're saying.
I can speak from.
Go ahead, Dina.
I can speak from Island Lake. I was the former HOA president, and in our ordinance, for the HOA, you have to have an in-ground pool as well as a fence. The cover were typically standard because these are in-ground pools, and they had an automatic cover that was, an easy cover the pool, versus a different kind of apparatus. But Island Lake, I see, has no, but we do require a fence. Are you suggesting that it's a fence and a cover, or is it an or?
No, so if there's a no there next to Island Lake, it means that the fence is required.
Correct, okay.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to go with the municipalities handle their jurisdiction regarding the fence. I think it's important that all of the mayors handle this conversation in literature and language about up and coming pools. Parents should also be involved in monitoring their children, and residents should be inclined to manage the safety of their pool. But I would lean towards the municipalities managing this.
Okay, thank you, Dana. What have you drawn from our conversation here, Patty? Is it something that, I think we're here sort of leave the municipalities govern their own people, their own ordinance. But we need to sort of step up, educate that, you really should put something in place if you don't have it, and you need to follow up on who's not complying.
Yes, Pete indicated that there's an upcoming meeting next week that I may possibly have an opportunity to speak to the municipalities again regarding those specific things, which I'm more than happy to do. If you feel more comfortable that I do that and bring back more information after the, another one-on-one conversation, I'm happy to do that.
I think this is great that you put this together, but that one-on-one conversation would be very meaningful to me, to hear what they have to say and how they would like to handle it. And being, I'm not a pool owner, so maybe there's some, someone out there say, hey, we want the county to step in and take a little more charge of this. So if that's okay with the committee, and Patty was willing to do that, and then come back to us next month, I think that would be great. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Patty.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Looking
Thank
forward to seeing how this comes out.
Thank you.
And we can all spend a little more time talking to our municipalities too, and getting a little feel for what's needed.
Thank you.
What meeting is that, Pete?
Shailen's having our quarterly or monthly meeting with the village managers here in this room next Monday.
With the managers?
We'll likely have a dozen managers here, and Patty kind of started this conversation with that group about 5 months ago, kind of getting us this information, so it's a timely follow-up.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Adam's getting up there like.
I think, I don't know,
No, you're
You can
fine.
tell me.
I'm just, where you're at here and what I'm looking at. The annual report?
annual report.
Okay. My thing printed out on 2 pages and you sort of lost you at the top of the second page for a minute there.
All right, thank you.
Look at that.
Yeah, all right, so 2024 annual report. I talked a little bit about what prompts this report, and that is our comprehensive plan to give the county board an idea of growth development plan, trends, an area of how much land has been converted through zoning action. And then over the years, we've built it to be a bigger picture of permitting and our statistical numbers and kind of the trends that P&D is operating with. So I did email it to you, or actually I didn't. I emailed it to Kathy. Kathy, would you just present? Sorry. All right, thanks. So, starting with the brass tacks operations for planning and development. We are responsible for the public safety, welfare, and quality of life. And we do that, or one fashion of that. And we do that through the development and the enforcement of multiple ordinances, unified development ordinances. The one we're really gonna focus on here, stormwater management, building codes, and then the administrative of our community development programs. Our org chart, we revised this past year because Canva is awesome. It allowed us to put a little pulse with this. So this is an org chart, but it also shows our workflows. We've got kind of 2 sides of the department. On the left side, community development and all of the state, federal, local funding and the programs that we administer with those. And then on the right is administrative planning, water resources, and building division, all represented in the NRS. And then one applicant. All right. So, right, administrative division, Cindy McGee, our office manager, planning division and deputy director, Renee Hanlon, water resources, Stoyan Kolev, and then building division, first in, last announced, sorry, Steve Gardner. And then myself, Director of Planning and Development. With that, we've got 29 FTEs and a couple of consultants that we've contracted. They have 3-year contracts, 4-year contracts, I'm sorry. Next year, or say at the end of this year, they will be up for renewal. So you'll see us again to talk about water resources, secondary consulting, and then secondary plan review services. And then next month, we anticipate bringing forward something that we did last year with MCC, which was a construction management internship opportunity. Last year we did 3. This year we're chiseling that down after our manager beat me up a little bit on that. We're only going to request 2. It was we were stretched a little thin there in the summer. So that'll be some items that will come up. This is our operational diagram. So we go from our org chart, which kind of talks about how we work. This is how P&D works within the whole system. On the outskirts of the diagram are all of the subrecipients, the agencies, county residents, businesses, the commissions that we work with. everybody that we can kind of think of in these general buckets, and then how we interface with them. And then that goes down to working with with the county board and the various liaison and subcommittees. All this to say, what we actually do. And the way we look at this is kind of through the lens of, our way I'm putting this together is kind of through the lens of our residents or business owners. So the services that we provide are all geared towards development. Some folks are gonna do it all themselves, others are gonna outsource it all. We are there as a resource. So that org chart and those service entities that are associated with that or operations chart all have access, and we kind of feed them these incrementally. So the first thing is our outward facing information. We have building permits. This past October, we celebrated our 80th year of issuing building permits. So 1944 was the first permit that we issued. And we've got, they're not the best records, but we've got them. We've got them accounted for. We just didn't request big drawings now. Now we do. But we've scanned all of that over the last decade and put that outward facing so that people can collect it. We've been scanning zoning petitions and put that outward facing. Everything that we can get. People buy properties, they want to see what their plans are, what's been approved, their permit history. That effort has led to a little bit of a slowdown in terms of FOIAs. We look at everything in kind of 5-year blocks. So 2020 through 2024, those 5 years with a 5-year average. Looking at this, we're at about 403. We were confident when we were here for the budget that was going to be a lower number. We had a spike of FOIAs in the end of the year that kind of kept that 403 average there. We're down, about 5 years ago, it was almost 500. So we've gone down a little bit and sunk. And I like to attribute that to all the efforts that we've made putting that on the website. The next item that we'll offer folks is the letter of buildability. This is one I remember Gadamuller has talked a little bit about in terms of when people are buying properties, when people are selling properties, go get a letter of buildability. We've seen a rise over the last couple of years. It's useful. It tells people that, hey, you can build a house here. On the commercial side, it's a zoning certification. So yes, this is a B1 or a B3. Now you can sell it or you can buy it with some confidence. So those numbers are building. They become useful for folks. Talked about development, where we kind of encourage development. It's not isolated. We have some subdivisions that have been platted years ago. Those are slowly, as you can see here, subdivision technical adjustments. We haven't had new subdivisions. We've had one under the current Unified Development Ordinance. That's an 11-year-old ordinance. We've had one, and that was a person that subdivided 3 lots. So not big numbers. We've had a few technical adjustments. These are items that would go just through the site plan review committee. Doesn't even reach the county board. So that's just when they want to put their home site here and their septic area is here and they want to flip them or something along those lines. So they go through that process. The next one starts to build up, and these are some of the zoning petitions that we'll start to track, the text amendments. We haven't had any this year. And there's kind of 2 primary reasons for that, which we'll touch on. But every year we like to bring forward, hey, this is what we've realized over the last year that maybe we want to adjust. When we have 2, that's because there's another emerging topic. Last year, I think we had the rodeos and their temporary use events where we had major concerts. That's been discussed again, and we're looking and anticipating that we will have an amendment round coming up that would involve that topic again, to some degree or another. And then maybe there's other issues that we would present to this group, and this group would bring that forward. You become the petitioner in that regard, so for the text amendments to bring forward.
And can I add, and the reason we do that is so we never have to do a completely new ordinance from the beginning again, because that's spent years.
Yeah.
So we fix a little bit at a time rather than massive overhauls.
Thank you, Joe. We don't want to do that again. From the outside looking in, that looked daunting. All right, well, this is the first reason why we really haven't been jumping in here to say, hey, we've got some text amendments. Our zoning division has been rocking and rolling this year. Up 50% from years past, and it's been that trend the whole year. Every month we've always kind of said that we bring about 4 petitions through, average about 50. That works out. This year it's been about 5 or 6. So and just that little bit makes a difference. Then they're kind of all over the board. So we're going to go through each. We talked a little bit about the text amendments. We're going to go through conditional use variations and reclassifications here. Start with reclassifications. The most common is this A2. So you'll see 1 or 2 of those a month. And that's when, in a nutshell, when someone wants to take the house, the farmhouse, and they want to sell off the farm and they want to keep the house, or just separate it. That's the zoning action that would allow that. So it's a pretty frequent one, over half, about 1 a month or so. The next big one is B3, but everything else, you're looking at the numbers next to it. So the E5, there's just 1 petition. It may look like a big slice of pie, but it's only 1 or 2. So then we look at that in terms of acreage. So on the left, it's the actual petition numbers. On the right, it's those zoning actions by acreage. So for A2s, 11 of those parcels, about 4 or 5 acres per house, per farmhouse. And then the rest of it stays in A1, so we never really see that. B3 looks like a big chunk. 1 of those petitions was just approved last month. That was about 17, 18 acres, I think, that Chris Lake one. So it's a big chunk of that 28 acres that's accounted for there. All in all, this is our big graph that kind of shows, hey, we're not making big splashes or changing, going in a way opposite of what the comprehensive plan talks about. 288,000 acres, we've changed 103 of them this year. So we're confident that growth is as anticipated or less than.
Quiet.
Pretty quiet. At least in the county. In the municipalities, they're rocking and rolling. This is variations. Sorry, lost my thought there. Variations. So these are folks want to do something, but there's a little tweak to the scope that either they're a little bit closer to the property line or the side yard. So you can see setbacks are at 12 of these requests. Height is at 7. So these are bulk. The majority of these are going to be, we want to build a foot higher, 2 feet higher, whatever it might be. Each one of those will be hashed out in terms of with the McHenry County hearing officer. They'll provide a recommendation, staff report, and that'll go forward to the county. This is a similar year to one we had in 2020 with 24 variations. So not a huge spike in this particular category, but in this one we did. And our big blue sector is our solar farms. So we have 16 solar farms that have been applied for, and this is just applications, not approvals. Applications, I highlight that one because the numbers may be different if you go back and audit, but also they go through the hearing. Some of them haven't been through hearing yet. Some of them haven't. They pause sometimes on their own end. So we did the work, so we count it, if that's all right. Next one up would be landscape businesses. Historically, that's been in the top echelon in terms of numbers and quantities. And then vacation rentals. I highlight that one because there's 3 of them, and the rest of them are 1 or 2 petitions per. But also to highlight that folks are coming in for vacation rentals. This is an elusive category to try to pin people down on. If we got 3, my guess is there's many more out there. Similar to if we get 3 basement renovations or people finishing their basement, there may be about 100 out there that we haven't got. So it's something that we're very mindful of. And I will, I guess, reiterate that we're a complaint-driven operation. So if we get a complaint, follow up on it. We try to pin them down on that. And if you hear something, bring it in. Go ahead.
So under their solar farm, how many acres did those in do you know that number?
Without dancing around, I don't know if I do have that number. I'll find that out. We do have it, I'll say it that way, we do have it because I think we've got that through our, through our report, but I can get that to you. Actually, I'll send out, we have a map that shows where every one of them has been approved, and as they get approved, Kim Charlo in our office updates that map, and I think we can add a table that would have those, that acreage.
You going back 2 years or 3 years?
We can go back, as far as we'd like.
Since the law, I think it was 2 or 2.5 years since the law came in that says we don't have control.
Yeah, we've been working with solar farm developers since about 2017, 2018. 2018 was our big spike, was when we got our initial like 30 of them or something like that. But yeah, we can give you all of that and pair it up so that you can see what you need to see.
In that information, as long as you're doing it anyway, because we did approve quite a few prior to that law. Some of them don't end up going through because they don't meet other things that they have to meet, like the stormwater management, or there's other things that end up, or there's an easement and the people don't want to give up like the conservation easement or something like that. So is there any information you can give on those that have been approved that actually will not go through? For those reasons, and I don't even know, some of them are not at that point.
Right.
But, because I know there's other things like eventual hookup, but I think there's certain things that will stop some of these projects on their own.
We don't have people that say it's never gonna go, like the Duke Energy one, for example. That one's huge and complex, and there's so many moving parts. The chances that it's gonna go are probably slim, but Duke will never say that.
Actually, they're down.
They'll never say that.
They only have 2 steps to go for Duke and it'll start.
We don't have that kind of information, but what we do have on that same chart is the approved ones, but then the ones that also have pulled a building permit, applied for a building permit, or have completed construction.
Okay.
So we do keep up with that, which you're correct. The percentage that complete construction is very small.
All right, thank you.
They also had something happen in the last, well, it really happened about 1.5 years ago now. The grid that is connected to, that grid runs from basically Illinois to New Jersey. There was a brick put on it, and until they finished revising those plans, no one in that 10-state area could hook into the grid. That plan finished sometime in the middle of last summer, late last summer. It now requires 3 steps. That's why I know about Duke. Duke has completed the first step. They're in the middle of the second step.
So we're getting closer to that hookup.
So we're getting closer to that hookup. But they won't build that without being able to put it on the grid. There's no...
That's their first step, and then they have other obstacles like they're going under the tollway. So they'll have to get that permission, so there's a lot of moving parts on most of them. But no one will come to us and voluntarily say, we're never gonna build this, so we're gonna let our CUP go.
Any other questions on conditional uses? And for that matter, variations or reclassifications or rezonings, because we'll jump into the permit numbers.
Can I ask one question? Going back to your variation, just your other slide. So,
whoops.
That one in the corner. So what is that in the corner?
The little variation, the bar to the right?
Yeah, because you got...
That is just a snapshot of this chart, which is probably lazily done. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I just wasn't, I was having trouble matching up the numbers.
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So the chart of all of them are painted there, and then the summary of the last 5 years, and then the average is on top at 19. I'll clean that up. All right. And then moving into permits. I was going to be live on Canva, and these little yellow boxes wouldn't have been on there. I would have highlighted, I reorganized this chart a little bit into residential and commercial, just to kind of group things together. But since they're highlighted, we'll start with single-family residences. This is the most single-family residences that have been permitted since I've been here in almost 12 years at 65. So to compare that to previous 5-year periods, we were at, the first year I got here, we did 11. And the year before that was 6. And then it started getting into the 20s, 30s. So we were at about 24 for that average for that 5-year block. So getting up to 51 is big. That first year that we presented it, Mr. Gottemeyer pointed out, yeah, but you also demoed 12. We were -1. This year I highlighted, we demoed 19. So we've got 65 standing, and I'm sorry, with 19 that came down. Commercial industrial buildings, we saw a little spike over the last couple of years. Highlighted that, averaging for the 5 years, 17, 21 this year. Going back, you can see that those numbers went down pretty stark. And then the solar energy facilities that have actually been permitted. So in 2020, we did 5 of those that were applied for in 2018. We went through a little bit of a dry spell. 23, we did 2, and then past year, we did 3. We've got some of those starting to stand up. You'll see them around town, see them around the county. Any other questions as you get into that, please let me know. Go ahead, Carl.
With your solar permitting of 3, seems like every month we have 1 to 2 that we're pushing out. So that number,
it's off balance.
Yeah.
There are a lot standing with entitlement, and then only that many, only 10 so far have been actually permitted and come into it to actually construct. So there's, I'm flat-footed right now, 55, 57, there's gotta be over 60 at this point. But there's a lot that have been approved for entitlement for actual conditional uses. But yeah, far less have actually come through to do the work.
So that means they haven't came in, paid for it, and walked out with the permit.
Basically. Put all the engineering and all that stuff that would go into it. And there could be a lot of reasons.
So we only have
One of the most is,
11?
what's that?
Oh, we only have 10.
We only have 10. Yeah, we did not, we got all 5 in the same, almost the same 3 or 4 month period. And that was we learned quickly on those. That'll be something that we highlight, or maybe can be deduced when we share that information on the solar maps and the acreage and kind of where those are at. We'll definitely be able to highlight which 10 have been permitted, so we know that they're rocking and
Could you
rolling.
break them down into community, like Duke is the only one that is a utility level.
Yeah.
I mean, because that has a huge impact too.
Yeah. And I think we've got that breakdown already.
She does.
Yeah.
Well, she breaks it down into the megawatt hours.
All right,
Okay.
that's fine. It gives you some idea of what you're generating.
But are some of the, I'm sorry, are some of those smaller, like ones like megawatts, they're not all community solar, are all the smaller ones? Are they, could you indicate then whether or not it's community versus just, because there is a difference in terms
Private
of.
development.
Yeah. and-
Maybe just somebody's running his farm that way.
Right.
And we do have those represented. So to give you an idea, solar accessory is right in line with the D in residential. We average about 146 of those a year.
I'm sorry, say that?
Solar accessory, it's about 8 lines down. We had 142. If you look at residential, the D.
Oh, up there,
Yeah.
gotcha. Oh.
We get a significant amount of those. Those are rooftop, those are
Oh,
on the
okay.
barns, those are in the backyards. So we'll get ground mount and building mounted systems frequently. All right. Not everybody complies though. So we do have a compliance division. We have watched these trends go all sorts of ways, but one of the things that we've watched it consistently do is go down. Now we're standing here the January 7th. I think we're on pace to have about 1,000. We just rocketed out of the gate. We've got about 15 already this year, and just notable. So to preface what I'm about to say. Over the last 5-year block, 15 to fiscal year 19, we averaged not just cases were a little bit higher, but the cases that actually went and were referred to the state's attorney's office, and we averaged about 108. It was normal then. It was just that now when we look back on it and we see this 5-year block, we averaged 58. Just our approaches have changed. We talked a little bit about this over the years, but for the benefit of the new members, it's just been a little bit of a different educational emphasis from our managers, from our code enforcement officer, building better cases, having better evidence. It's been a little bit cleaner on that end. Those, to kind of give you an idea of how we operate with that, our code enforcement officer will manage every one of the cases, but the actual division heads will be the signatory. They're the ones that would actually sign the complaint, sign the ticket, and then, so there's 2 people that would confer on it, and then that code enforcement officer reports directly to me. If there's a coin flip or a third vote, then I would break that tie. So it's kind of how it would go. And usually, I don't think I've ever even been put in that situation where there's not a consensus on it. It's pretty evident and obvious.
Oh, come on, now you're challenged.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, don't challenge.
No, but that's a good, important point, is your staff is doing such a better job at educating the public on what they need. So at the end of the day, that they're not getting a ticket for non-compliance. They know ahead of time and they follow the rules and everybody's on the same page. So that's a feather in your cap.
Appreciate it. To all of you.
Yep.
All right. All right. The next big thing, our goal every year is to turn around 90% of our permit reviews within 10 business days. So 2 weeks, 10 business days, and we track that. We've been tracking that. This is our 7th year of full data. 22 and 23, we did it, and this year we just did it. 89.5, I think it's 89.53 or something like that is the real number. But
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah. Been teaching for a while, and was a student for a while. I'd be really mad if I didn't get that 90 on that one. So yeah, we did the 3-peat, and I'm really proud of our staff, the managers. It's been really good, and that doesn't mean, the chart below, that doesn't mean that we just approve everything. We don't rubber stamp stuff. And we look very closely at this. So, and how we gauge that is this chart. So we have the bottom line, that blue bar is the number of permits that we've issued. And the gold bar is the number of permit reviews we've conducted. Those, they can't be, the yellow bar can't be below the blue bar. It can be close to it. And if we were 1-to-1, that means everything in goes out approved. We don't want to be there. For the last 5 years, we've operated at just about 0.7. So for every about 0.7 of our reviews get approved on the first try, so 70% of them. The rest of them get denied for some reason or another, and revisions are requested. That number has risen from about 0.5, a little bit over 0.51 to 0.7. And the reason it's risen, and it's risen consistently, and you can see that hasn't been a big spike, is we condition permits. So we don't, just because you spelled something wrong or don't list that, doesn't mean we're gonna automatically send you back and go get your architect or your friend to redraw it. We'll just put a condition letter on there and say, all right, we both agree that this is good, we get you out the door and get you rolling. So that's a mechanism that's curved that edge a lot for us. But yes, so to celebrate the big point is, yes, we've achieved it this year. We did the 3-peat, and we've got some signs that are going up in our lobby. It's a little famished right now because there's only 2 of them and it's a big wall, but we'll get that 3rd one up there, and hopefully we keep the streak alive. The next big piece, I showed you this at the past, yeah. Well, put your arms down because I think we talked about the 17th. It's the 28th. No, SmartGov. So 17 years, 4 projects later, 3 or 4 different systems. This is actually happening. We have a go live of January 28th for our new permitting system, SmartGov. And while excited, everyone's pretty nervous right now. We're going through the paces. Starting Monday, we have SmartGov actually coming out to do on-site training for the full week. It'll not only be P&D, it'll be health department. We have liquor license or liquor commission on there. There is a lot of opportunity for us to really impact all of our goals. And to the point where when we look at this, when this goes live, not just impacting our goals, we're looking at how we restructure. We're literally changing everything that we're doing from that permit processing standpoint, permit review, permit inspection, reporting. I'm not gonna say and promise it's gonna be magical, but it really will be a difference maker. Everything will be digitized. One of the markers that I've been talking about when it comes to the budget is our revenue item for printing has been $2,000 or $2,500 for the last several years. And no reason to change it. But we have had, because of this hybrid online permit demand, where we have about 70% of our permits are applied for online. Well, we have to, because of our system, we have to print those out still. And that charge goes to the applicants. So over a year's total, for about 2,000 reviews, 70% of 2,000 reviews, that adds up to, over the years, $22,000, $25,000. This year alone, it was almost $30,000 of revenue just from printing. So that'll be a burden off of homeowners, because that will never hit a printer anymore. It'll be a burden off of staff, because we don't have to print it, only to close it, scan it, and put it back on the server for it to be outward facing for future uses. So that's a silly but a big example of it. So we're really excited to get this rolling January 28th. It's a Tuesday. That's when we're going to go live. We're ready. We're definitely ready for it to come. So, and this is a shout out to all the folks that have been working on it. JT and Sarah, JT Bowers, Sarah Heisberg, Jesse from IT, Kim Charlo has jumped in there. And I highlight those four because they're down the hall right now running a meeting on Q&A sessions, and they're running meetings on how standard operating procedures are going to go. They meet quite a bit and take up a lot of precious review time. I'm sorry, Steve. So that enlists these folks to jump in and do permit reviews and all that. So it's a all hands on deck effort for sure.
Well, it has been a mammoth project, and I know that it's been talked about before I ever got here. So I am glad to see it's happening.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, the bags under the eyes are real. Any questions? I didn't highlight a lot. I kind of just skipped over some stuff, that maybe was in previous annual reports, but I want to kind of keep this to what we've really done.
We've always talked about keeping a little streamlined.
Streamlined, yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? I got one, I guess, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but how do you see SmartGov affecting your staff count?
Right now, I don't see it affecting the staff count. Certainly it's something we're aware of. I don't see it being a replacement. Really what it is it enables workflows. So it eliminates staff's need, talk about printing. It also eliminates staff's need to wait for that permit to come out of another division so that they can review it. We can do concurrent reviews. So at that point, maybe you have downtime, or maybe they're cleaning out a filing, or maybe they're studying, or maybe they're doing something. But now we're all gonna be kind of pulling in the same direction. So at this point, I don't see any risk or any downsizing at that point.
Okay. Shouldn't expect that when budget time, you're not going to see it's 2 less FTEs or whatever.
No, I truly don't. I don't expect that. No, there's enough. There's certainly enough other different aspects of the operation that folks have been working on and still doing this kind of a ragtime playing the piano with these guys. So zoning applications and zoning reviews are kind of two different sides of the brain. Same thing with building and doing different reports.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else for him? Okay. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Thank you. Got that, Dan. All right. Thank you.
We'll move on to 9-1, and Renee, you got a little summary of hearing officer and ZBA report stuff? Like everything is 7-0 approved here.
So you have 3 petitions before you this time, coming up, and nothing's controversial, but everything's a little different than you're used to seeing. So the first one is a vacation rental. So this is in Ridgefield. It's the old Jewish Congregational Center right in downtown Ridgefield. And the people have purchased it, and the sole use will be for vacation rental. So for those of you that don't know, we allow vacation rentals or short-term rentals by right, as long as you don't rent the property for more than 12 times per year, or for more than a total of 90 days out of the calendar year. So if the person goes over that or anticipates going over that, then they have to get a conditional use. So that's what this person is requesting up front, is a conditional use for that.
Well, I'll read that application, but it's just quickly, is it one unit? I mean, it's or multi-units or?
It is just one. And I think the total was eight people, I think. But yeah, as one, but people would rent it as one unit.
Okay.
And then the next one that's a little bit different than what we normally see is Port King on Route 23. So they've purchased that home site that's just north of them. So they want to rezone that property to I-1, which is consistent with their zoning, which surrounds this property. And then the last one is another solar farm. And everything went with the 7-0 recommendation for approval.
Okay. That sounds good, Renee. I know we're not going to have any discussion, but if anybody from the committee wanted to speak up about the solar farm thing, there is a representative from that company here, and we're not going to have a back and forth, but he would take his questions back and have answers at the cow maybe if we had something we needed to talk about. I don't. I'm not saying anything else. Okay. Thank you, Renee.
Sure, thank you.
Future topics, anyone?
I do. And so this is,
Just hand it around.
this is an aerial photograph of a problem that we get to deal with on our
Answer down.
it's all the same.
All the same, okay.
So this is an old
Yeah,
channel.
she gets her copy.
This is an old, can you, I already gave you this once.
What's that?
I already gave you this once.
I know it. I knew it when I saw the S.
Yeah, okay. So this is a channel off the Fox River. And it was done, I don't know how many years ago. But when they did build it, or when they dug it, they created all these little boxes that are along there that have docks and piers on them, all right? And I don't know, 6 months ago maybe, something like that, it came about that in our regulations, you can only have a pier on one of these things if your home was within so many feet of this, your other principal property. And it seems to me that that kind of defeats the purpose of having a pier and having these little boxes. And so I don't know how the board feels about it, but I asked Adam to take a look at it and put it on that list of things that we talk about when we change, when we decide whether to make changes to our zoning ordinance. This is one that I don't see any reason why these people would have to be limited to having a house within so many feet of these piers. But that's me, and I'm raising it because this has come up. One of these pier owners called me about it. So anyway, I wanted you guys to be aware of what the problem, or how the problem developed, and sometime I know staff will bring it towards us.
Okay.
A question about it?
Sure.
It's not on the agenda, so.
Well, but it's for future topics, that's all.
I just mean to clarify, so when you look into it, I would
Yeah,
to
go ahead,
add
go
into
ahead.
that report, please. One, are there, just to, if you know of any complaints by the actual people who live across the street from that, and then if there's any issues with parking with regards to using.
Parking is the number one issue.
Okay, all right, that's clarifying for
Okay,
me,
that'll
thank
be
you.
addressed,
Okay.
during the presentation. Okay, no need for an executive session. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Carl, seconded by Paul. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.